It's been almost a year since I made the video on the 10 greatest Rocket League players of all time, and in some ways this video is my way of basically updating that list, but with a little bit of a different focus. That video looked at the players who could best be defined as great. This video is looking more at influence within the Rocket League community. So there are definitely some players on this list who've never played competitively, and obviously most of them have been content creators at some point, some of them haven't though. In this video I'm really looking at the players who changed the way people look at the game, and that's kind of what I want to explain for each person, the way in which they've influenced Rocket League. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. As always, be sure to subscribe for more content like this, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoy the video. Alright, let's get into it. Number 10, Pulse of Ample, and I'm also going to include Gainer as well. Now I've included these two players on this list basically just because of their ability to hit flip resets. They've both set records in this regard, Evample with the quad flip reset, and then Gainer with the penta flip reset. There's a big group of players and freestylers that many of us probably don't know about who've impacted the game in regard to flip resets. Players like Sting, for example, who was apparently the first player to really start consistently hitting flip resets and actually using it as a way to score goals. Who knows whether this is going to be a viable play for competitive play. I'm still waiting for the first pro to actually hit multiple flip resets and actually get a goal in a game off of, multiple flip resets and not just one. Regardless, flip resets have basically been the shot of 2018, or at least the shot of the last half of it. You can't really make a montage these days without like 70% of the shots being flip resets. So I don't know how big this will be for competitive play, but these players have definitely been influential in this regard, and they sort of just blew up and showed up on the scene really quickly. All right, number 9 goes to Jazer. Now Jazer's influence in regards to Rocket League is bigger than most people realize. He's always been on the forefront of whatever new mechanic or skill is out there, and because he has such a massive audience, I think he deserves to definitely be on this list. He also has a measure of success as a competitive player, more so than pretty much any other freestyler that I know of. Jazer for me is just one of those players who really shows what Rocket League can be, and he's always been that. He has incredible car control and ball control, and he's just insanely creative. Alright, number 8 goes to Devo. Now Devo made a major impact on Rocket League and RLCS way back in Season 2 and Season 3, and he's still around today, but that was really when he showed up and started doing things that people hadn't really seen before. He came onto the scene with somewhat of a new playstyle. No matter what the situation, whether he's playing 1s or 2s, playing competitively, playing in RLCS Live Finals, he sort of just plays with almost a recklessness. I describe it as just playing all out. He became really the forerunner of hitting double touches consistently in high pressure situations, enough so that in Oceania they actually called the double touch a Devo. For me, his style has always been something we can learn from. In the end, Rocket League is about scoring more goals than your opponent. It's really that simple. And Devo's focus has always just basically been on scoring goals. Not really worrying about what will happen if you miss, but just really focusing on making great shots and really just going for the ball and making plays happen. And this is what makes him such a fun person to watch. Alright, number 7 goes to Scrubkilla. Now I've talked about Scrub quite a bit. Obviously his biggest area of influence has been his dominance in the 1 scene. Oh, and he basically invented the way to hit the diagonal kickoff. If you're doing that kickoff correctly, you're probably doing it Scrub's way. Now Scrub has actually been given a chance to prove himself in RLCS and in competitive 3s, and Vitality looked pretty rough after the first week of RLCS this season, but they've really turned it around these last few weeks, and I think they're in a great position to make LAN and maybe even do something at LAN. We'll see though. I think Scrub will continue to prove himself in this arena. He'll definitely be one of the best of all time shortly. I honestly would love to see them win RLCS, but I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen. Regardless, as a content creator, as a streamer, Scrubkilla has had a massive influence in Rocket League since its early days, really. Number 6, Cooksier97. This list would not be complete without Cooksier on it. Even though it's not about just the most dominant players in RLCS, Cooksier truly has been one of the most influential players of all time, without really having much of a presence outside of just the competitive scene. And now that Flipside has qualified for RLCS Season 6 LAN, we'll get to see Cooksier at LAN again, which is super exciting. He's one of the few dominant players from RLCS Season 1 and 2 who is still around making an impact on the competitive scene. Cooksier's main influence was really early in the scene, however. He was doing things that nobody else could do, and a lot of what he did really shaped the game as we know it, and shaped what it meant to be a good Rocket League player. In a lot of ways, Cooksier and some other players that we're going to talk about have really defined Rocket League and what it means to play the game well. A lot of people learned a lot of things from Cooksier, and also this next person. Okay, this brings us to number 5, which is Kronovi. Now I'm guessing you guys probably knew Kronovi would be on this list. Similar to Cooksier really, he's one of the few main players from back in the early days of Rocket League who's still around and still has a presence. In Rocket League's early days, Kronovi was a step ahead of basically every other player out there, besides maybe Cooksier honestly. But really the amazing thing is how Kronovi has managed to stay relevant within the competitive scene with pretty much the same roster. G2 is now 6-1 in this season's league play, and that's insane when you look at how tough the top teams are. But you know, G2 has been around for such a long time, and Kronovi's been such a staple of that team. There's just something about Kronovi's leadership and his play style that keeps him around. You know, he's not necessarily the craziest or the nuttiest player in the world right now, but he's one of those players who is just so solid and has so much experience competing that he always manages to be in the mix. And it really would be cool to see him win another trophy. I would get excited if they won. Number 4, FairyPeak. Now, FairyPeak made this list for me not because he's necessarily an influential personality or content creator, but more because of his absolute dominance in multiple areas of the Rocket League community. At any given time, whether he's focusing on 3s or 1s, he can jump over to either or and still just be so dominant. He's only lost a few times on Johnny Boy's stream, and he's played in tons and tons of show matches. In terms of competitive ones, I would say that he only sits behind Scrub, though he probably is the most dominant ranked player in Rocket League history, and he has been close to winning RLCS before. More than this though, I think that what stands out to me is FairyPeak's just overall playstyle and mentality. He's just the epitome of a solid Rocket League player. He beats you to the ball, he wins challenges, he knows what you're doing when you're on offense, and he just doesn't make mistakes. He plays smart, and apart from Cooksier, he's also been one of the biggest pioneers of using the Batmobile, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm basically a FairyPeak fan. Always have been. Alright guys, number 3 on my list goes to Justin. And remember, these aren't, totally ranked in order because it's hard to actually rank influence. But regardless, there's no denying that Justin belongs on this list. Whether you're looking at his streaming career, or just his creativity and innovation as a player, or even his recent dominance in RLCS, Justin is really a similar type of influencer as players like Squishy. He's just nuts. And there's really no other way to describe it. He does incredible things, and he's such a creative player. Number 2 on my list goes to TurboPulsa for being the most dominant competitive Rocket League player in the history of the game. 3 world championships in a row, probably 4 with this season, honestly. I don't know what it is, but TurboPulsa is just unstoppable in competitive play. Most players and pros have, 1 season or even 2 seasons where they play really well, but then they start to fall off, usually after winning RLCS. Nobody has done what Turbo's done. And I think Turbo and really Dignitas' whole team have shown us that it's possible to just continue to dominate in this game. It's really not a game of luck. If you are there and you've got the skill and you put in the work, it's going to work out for you. Now, whatever they're doing, it has really set them apart from the rest of the competitive scene. And there's no denying that he's been a major part of Dignitas' dominance. Alright guys, my pick for the most influential Rocket League player of all time is probably no surprise, but I have to say Squishy Muffins. And this isn't because I'm a Squishy fan. I know he's a polarizing figure, and it seems like you either love him or you hate him, which is not really where I'm at. I mean, I love him, yeah. Regardless, he's the person that most people think of when they think of Rocket League. All that's left for Squishy at this point is to win the World Championship. Here are some of the ways in which Squishy has impacted Rocket League.